beautiful souls. I hope you're well. Today, I have my good friend Quentin with me, Quentin, who is in France. Quentin and I are good friends, and we had the opportunity to do 2 or 3 interviews, I think, in the last year, where we talked a lot about spirituality, inner journey, spiritual, going within, into our spiritual path. And Quentin is also someone who works as an energy therapy or holistic therapy with not his company. I'm trying to find the right word. With Holos Healing, which I will put the link under the video, so this way you can have a look at what he's doing. It's wonderful work, and I've had a couple of sessions with Quentin, and he's really an amazing holistic healer or a therapist in a way, if you want, and a beautiful human who has been on a spiritual journey for many years, and done a lot of things. We met 3 years ago while we discovered Elena's work. So there's also that whole notion of galactic contacts and things like that. So we wanted to talk a little bit about that today and his kind of connection with the star nations and things, but also talk about, again, a little bit about spirituality and this whole notion of grounding a little bit. So hello, dear Quentin. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you. Thank you for having me again.
It's a pleasure.
It's always great to chat with you.
Can you speak just a little bit?
Yeah, sure. Sorry.
Yeah, this way I can hear you a little bit better. Thank you. So, Quentin, what's up? What do you want to share with us today? What's going up with you?
Well, so before we started recording, we were sort of having a quick little catch up, and I think like what came up the most was this idea of grounding, because I feel like we both feel, and I think generally we all feel like 2023 is the year.
Challenging challenging year.
One of those. And so to me, what we were discussing, and what sort of comes up a lot lately around me and within my practice and for myself, is really that idea of grounding, but not necessarily grounding grounding ourselves, but grounding to me, it's like grounding our own experiences, and also what has happened in the past, what we've already learned in the past, what we learned about ourselves, even, in relation to our, galactic and star people, and just our own part in this, and grounding all of that with this reality, with our reality as human beings on this plane of existence right now. So yeah, that's what's been happening for me.
And has it been challenging? Has it been fun? Has it been?
I mean, it's definitely been challenging, but it's also been really interesting, because it feels new to me. It feels like it's something that I've never experienced. I think like in the past, I had this last, I'd say, like good 2-3 years. I was really on a journey of like self-discovery and digging even more into different aspects of myself, included, my galactic relations.
Yep.
So, but now I feel like it's really, so it's this whole like grounding part. So it's been interesting because it's new in that sense of like, when you discover something about yourself and then you start to ground it in, you bring it back down and you sort of apply it in your everyday life. You apply it in your environment, in situations that has nothing to do with even like spirituality, and even like people that never heard of the Galactic Federation of Whales, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Or, so it's really interesting, and it's intriguing, and at the same time I feel like this is sort of part of what we're supposed to do as a whole, you know,
Yeah.
um,
To be
as a
like
collective.
bridges in a way.
Yeah, to build bridges and to just like really, yeah, to sort of like do the link and not always be, you know, up there and bring it
Yeah.
down and into our missions. And also, this is what I was telling you earlier. To me, it felt like um I lost my train of thought. Sorry, I lost what I wanted to say, but
It's
I'll
okay.
come
If
back.
you, I will, if you want, I'll just rebound on what you're saying. Perhaps it's going to bring back your idea. We were talking about the fact that, you know, both of us and many of us in this kind of whatever spiritual disclosure community, a lot of people have their own kind of practice, you know, regarding either they're doing energetic practice or creative, whatever. And there was a point, I think, for many of us where we were thinking that we would be actually be able to live out of our practice or only from that. And that was keeping us in this kind of bubble of like, I wouldn't say unicorns and rainbows, but, you know, a lot of that element of like, oh, I'm in energies and whatever, and which is great. It's perfect. We need a lot of that. But at the same time, a lot of us ended up being in situations financially where we're a bit, you know, because, you know, times are hard presently. Everybody's kind of struggling financially. So we had to have like a side job or something like that that would help us, you know, financially. And I have found interesting how for many people that has been very challenging for a lot of starseed or whatever the word is, you know, because it's like, oh, I don't want to go back into that world I kind of let go of, you know, with all those people that don't believe in what I believe in. So we want to keep them kind of, you know, we want to keep this kind of world like away from, sorry, I'm losing the focus here, kind of lose, you know, we don't want to be there anymore. But that's kind of a way of rejecting a part of ourselves, which is, you know, we're still on Earth, we're still in 3D, we're still humans. And I think it comes back to what you're saying, that it's important to be bridges as well of both of the realities, and not lose ourselves in this kind of rainbow and unicorn thing, and just remind ourselves that there's other people out there that either didn't wake up yet or are waking up and perhaps need someone who are kind of is already kind of has an idea of what's happening and that can be helpful. Or I don't know if that what your train of thought had to do with that a little bit, or if
Well, yeah, and I mean, to me as well, it's that the danger, okay, of always being in. I feel like there is a sense of like waiting for something, you
yeah,
know. Or before I can be that person, before I can bring this like whole part of myself into the world, I have to wait for something to happen. I have to,
yeah,
you know, for the whole disclosure to happen. I have to, you know, wait for everyone to be awake to happen. The thing is, we don't know. We can't know when it's going to happen.
yeah,
You know, that's
mhm,
one thing. And to me, like it's like, um, do like why wait? Like what? How is it going to be? Because even if, like, say tomorrow, you know, there's this whole disclosure thing happening wide, like worldwide, it's going to take time for, you know, the whole society to rebuild itself, you know, and to change and to
process
evolve.
and yeah,
So, you know, I feel like we need now. It needs to happen now, and it's also through us and through what we know. And it doesn't mean like, you know, being a whole guru and going after and, you know, going out there and say like, oh, this is it, this is it, this is that. But to me, it's all about, you know, and one of the things that always really resonated with me, that what Elena was saying, is that whole notion of frequency, you know, and it goes from my own experience and from what I know, it's um, our frequency goes way beyond just our close environment and how we feel within ourselves. So it's, you know, it's the start, but then it's the ripple effect, right? So and Argon has shared that with me many, many times, the importance of or how impactful it is on levels that we don't even gather, that we don't even understand now, like yet, in terms of how big, you know, it becomes, and how it changes things. So
We change the
sustaining
world
that.
like one person at a time by just being who we are, basically, and about what we do.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. And I don't know, I've experienced, I don't know if you did, but I've experienced that myself just on regular basis. I live with people, I live in a, it's a little community thing.
Mhm.
And once you start living with, just like a few people, you'll realize that the way you are within yourself is going to affect the group,
Definitely.
So if um, that is, to me, like I can't, it's just yeah, like a good example, and to me proof as well. It's that without even saying anything, you can affect people. So if that happens just like that, imagine when you really like all grounded into yourself and you live your life the way you want to live it right here, right now, not just waiting and to me, it doesn't mean that, you know, it doesn't mean that you put it aside or you sort of like cheat or you're being a little, a snake or whatever you want to call it. It just means that you're being who you are in this reality because we can't change the fact that this is the way it is at the moment. And the way we can change it is by applying what we know on the frequency level and not
Absolutely.
just being all like happy and bubbly and it's great to like be in a state of a the love frequency and the
Mm.
bliss frequency. But that can't happen all the time every day.
Yeah.
We're not there yet. So
And
we
there's day
manage.
where you're gonna feel like horrible, and it's
Yeah,
important to face that. I mean, and just deal with that shit and actually transmute it, not like live in the rainbow and thinking that, oh, I'm just gonna put that under the carpet and be in denial that everything's wonderful because
yeah.
you're not. Yeah.
That it's important to live it in this reality as well. Meaning,
Mm.
in your regular jobs and in your regular days, and when you do laundry, and when you have to, do the dishes, and when you have all these like little things.
Yeah.
When you have to be in a situation like called 3D situation, when you are in a job that involves like corporate and things like that, well, yes, it sucks, excuse my words, but
Mhm.
if that's how it has to be at the moment, there are ways to bring all these new frequencies into your everyday life. It's just like, to me, it feels that I had this whole acceptance to go, to do, like, to go through first. It was accepting that yes, at the moment it's not ideal, and I know I really, this is, I mean, since I was born, I've since I can remember, because I can't remember when I was born, but since I can remember, I've I've always known there was another way, and this is what led me into this whole journey of mine, because I always knew that there was something in this world that just doesn't is not quite right. I know there is another way. I don't know how it will happen, but I know there is another way because I've not in this life, but I've experienced another way. I've
Yeah.
um, another society, another way of living, another way of communication, another way of everything. Um, so I know there's another way. So and I had to accept the fact that this was the reality that we were living in, and I had to accept it first, and it was painful, and I literally cried many times, thinking, what the hell am I doing here? Like, how am I going to go through it? Like, I still have, like that many years that I have, to live my life, and and the way that to me was I was that help is, yes, going through that the whole time of self exploration and digging my roots and things like that. But there are many things that I will never know for sure. Like there are many things that I'll only find out for sure when I leave again, and and that's how it is, and that's okay. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with not knowing everything about myself, about that part of my life, and my life, current and others, and just accept the fact that I've chose to come here, and there is a reason for it. And for me to say uh, um, that I want to go would be uh, just I wouldn't fulfill my own choice of coming here, you know. So, and I believe that we all made the choice to come here. You know, it's we all had a choice, and I believe that. So if we are here, then wanting to leave means that you're disregarding something that you chose for yourself. You know.
You're kind of cheating yourself in a way, or you're kind of, well, cheating, you know what I mean? Like you're kind
Yeah,
of
yeah, yeah.
betraying your actual own choices of your soul of coming here and dealing with it. So yeah. You talked about you mentioned argon. For those who don't necessarily know who argon is, I'm just going to mention it briefly. He is, you would consider him in quotes your guide, but also perhaps a twin flame or someone upstairs with whom you're connected. And we're going to talk about this in a minute. I want to really address the second kind of part of our conversation would be more about your galactic contacts and all. But before that, I thought it was really important that we really talk about this whole grounding. And before we go to that topic, would you care to perhaps share with us in very tangibly, in very like grounded way, I don't know, a few examples of how you find that now you're able to ground more your reality in the 3D rather than, before? Like if you have a couple of examples you could give for people to just know what you mean, because people might think that grounding is about like, I don't know, going on the root chakra and hugging trees, which is perfect. It's wonderful. It's something we can do. But I think you mean more about, like everyday things and the way we do things. So if you can give like a couple of examples, it'd be nice, I think, to get an idea of what you mean.
So I think the first thing that I'm only going to speak here about my own experience, okay? And um, so the way I've applied it is the first thing is that I completely and entirely stopped watching like videos and things of other people, the way what they were experiencing, what they were, um, you know, and I sort of like, and it wasn't really a choice. Like, it just sort of happened naturally when I had to like a bit detach myself,
Yeah.
because I think it was time for me to uh, just really be with everything that I experienced and then I found out about myself, etc., etc. And so I, yeah, so I sort of like detached myself from that, which kind of helped me to ground what I felt, what I was thinking myself about myself, and about all the information that I might have gathered, and sort of like I think that was the whole part, a bit of the acceptance part that I was talking about earlier. It was sort of like, okay, well, I can spend my whole life, my whole days, every day watching stuff, watching videos.
Mhm.
Uh, how is that going to apply into my life? Like, what am I taking? Is that really like, this is the questions that I would tell people like to ask themselves, is that how does that help you? If you find something that helps you, great. If you don't know, maybe it's the time where you're like, you just take a step back and be like, okay, um like, how does that help me in my life to apply things to become this whole new world and this whole evolution, and then and what then after that, sort of when I detach myself from that, I started to just really apply things in the smallest, subtle, insignificant little things of my life. So that meant, I don't know, like you know, just doing things more, you know,
Consciously or in mindfulness?
doing things more consciously, being present. I mean, I went back a bit to Joe Dispenza as well a bit, just his process, his method. And what I like about him is that he gives you tools and then you do whatever you want with it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So so um just really like doing like manifesting for myself, not being afraid of expressing myself in my manifestations, you know, of like this is what I want for my life and for myself. This is who I want to be. You
Mm-hmm.
know, I want to be that kind of person. I want to get rid of that and really sort of apply all the things that we say that we must become, you know, um, and continue the work towards that with myself and just getting rid of um, yeah, because you know, like all the things that we know deep down, and it is a knowing, you know, this whole galactic relations that we have, and it's something within yourself that you may or may not explain it, and you may not have all the explanations yet, and you may never have the explanation, you know, you may it's you can have thousands of people telling you something and maybe a few different versions until you just um, don't fully feel it within yourself and feel like this is a knowing, and you don't need you don't need like to find out everything. This is my belief,
Yep.
and you know, I don't
Mhm.
think that we need to find out everything. There are things that are, yes, that are important, but at the end of the day, um, I don't feel more fulfilled now that I know more than I used to know when I was 16, when I had this realization that I'm from somewhere else, you know?
Yeah.
And and since that was the real moment when I was 16 where I if it was like something that never left me. It was like a knowing deep that sort of um got a you know, that just woke up and that never left me. And I didn't even look actually, to be honest, like for um
Like a
I
validation.
didn't look to know more. I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't looking to know more. It sort of like came through my path and through my journey and things like that. But
Yeah.
um so I had to ground, you know, take a step back from everything that is outside, all the informations, you know, that you
You
and
binge on like become because it can become a drug a little bit like too much.
yeah, yeah,
Videos are good, they give you hints in there, but like too much of it just becomes like another drug in which you lose yourself, like social media, and in which you don't have time to go back to your knowing. So there's always a
absolutely.
question of balance, I guess.
Yeah, there is definitely a question of balance. I believe that.
Me too. Mm.
And then it's just like really applying, you know, all that this frequency, you know, into your just your everyday most basics little things. And that's actually, and then the funny thing is that you realize that it's actually not that easy, you know. It's you know, we think that, oh, you know, becoming on a higher density, we're all going to turn into light beings, but before we get to do that, like try and have, you know, I don't know, like I mean, I don't have a kid, but you know, I know, you know, like it's summer and we have families around and things like that, and our kids, and sometimes it's a lot. And you know, you gotta keep your cool, you gotta keep your patience, you know, and you gotta be like,
Yeah.
and of course, again, I don't mean like being all like, oh, you know,
Mhm.
love and light and things, but just applying the things into little things that triggers you. You know, I'm lately. It goes through because I'm shedding a lot of
Mhm.
uh, and I get to consciously see what triggers me. And And in those moments, it's literally a fraction of a second when you're like, oh, I'm not going to react the way I used to. I'm going to try and react differently now, you know? And that it takes, it takes a while. I mean, it takes some
Takes a
practice
while,
for
it takes
sure.
an energy as well to be that constant
Yeah.
observer of yourself. And it demands a lot of energy and presence. But that's how you change your life and your world, basically.
Yeah. I deeply believe that. I deeply that
Mm,
it's, you
mm,
know, when we like just going back to basics, you know, I think this would be
yeah.
just going back to basics. And because we you know, a few years ago, I remember everyone saying, you know, it starts, and still a lot of people do, like it starts on the in the individual level, you know. So remembering that, and like what does that mean? It means that, you know, just come back to yourself, you know,
Yeah.
come back to yourself, and just and ground everything on a, just not put your feet in the ground, but do that bridge, you know, bring everything down with you, and just for a little time, because it's intense, you know. And as we were saying earlier before we started recording, it's physically draining lately. I mean, I'm knackered, you're knackered, everybody's knackered.
Yeah,
So,
we're just exhausted. We're just every second we're exhausted. But probably again because we're not focusing our energy necessarily where it should be sometimes. So maybe that's draining us. And I think you're right that trying to focus that presence into the moment really can help kind of energize ourselves in a way, even if it's a moment, just probably because of the energy that's always going to be a little bit draining, but it's kind of our role to try to find ways in which we can kind of transmute that.
yeah.
So I think it was really important to address this question of grounding before we actually talk about what we're going to talk now, because I think it's two parts, it's parts of it's two parts of the same thing, which are very important. It's like the shamanic tree always. If your roots are really deep down rooted, then you can extend your branches far because everything is equally. So I think that's kind of metaphorically what we're talking about here. So I was wondering if you would like to, because we didn't really have a lot of opportunities in our previous interviews to really explore more well, we have spoken about a little bit about argon, and but more in terms of like guidance and things like that, but a bit less about what happens between you and this whole family you have upstairs, or group, let's say Star Nation. And I'm going to shut up. I'm just going to actually let you tell us what you feel like sharing with us regarding this whole contact and how you discovered that. Perhaps at the beginning you said around 16, but how did you also discover your inner knowing about this information?
Okay. Okay, this is very unusual for me because I don't share that with, like, I've yeah,
Yeah.
it's, I don't know, to me it's a very intimate thing, so I don't know if I'm gonna share everything, but I'm never gonna.
Feel super, super comfortable to talk about
I
only
know
what you're comfortable with. Like I really don't want to pry. So I just let you give us as much
my
as you're
ears,
ready. You don't have to, I'm not gonna ask you many questions. I'm gonna let you just go so you can feel comfortable.
so my ears ringing really hard with
Oh, is that a coincidence?
I don't know.
Oh.
Um, so okay, so it was a bit later than, so yeah, when I was 16, I was just so my first really memory of this awareness was, I was younger than that. I don't know, probably around like 8 or 10, and my uncle used to take us to like somewhere in the forest every year for the Passage showers, which
Mm,
happens around August. By the way, this year is on the peak is on the 13th of
mm.
August, so everyone wants to get out and watch the
And see the
Passage
beautiful,
showers.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then so then there was this year, so we went there, and then I just have this memory of um, seeing just the immensity of the sky. And I remember my cousin, she was like, it's so scary. And to me, I was sort of shocked to hear that. I was like, oh my God. To me, it felt like so reassuring and really like a feeling of, like just a, you
Home.
know, like, But I didn't really, well, I didn't really put that at the time, you
Mhm.
know, I just think like that, obviously, when you're that age. And so, you know, life goes on, and then I'm 16 and I'm with my sister, and we just sort of like randomly watching the stars one night. And I can't really, I couldn't really tell you exactly how it happened. I just remember that I told her that. I remember that I told her, you know, I'm not from here, or something like that, along that line. I'm not from here, and um, and she wasn't really shocked, and she didn't like, you know, she was just like, okay, you know, and that was that, you know. And to me, that was like just the fact of saying it, and but I don't know, it was just like a really something that had never left me since then, you know.
Mhm.
And then again, like life goes on. I was 16, so I had to be a teenager and things like that. And then around, so in 2014, when I started, I was introduced to Reiki, and then I found this Reiki master that sort of like took me under his wing for a couple of years. And I was sort of like, yeah, he was, he trained me for these years, and then he took me to like, to start, I would say, this whole journey of, completely randomly, actually, of like this whole like galactic journey, I'm gonna say. So just spoiler alert, I never had a spaceship above my house, or I've never, you know, had that kind of experience. To me, it's a lot more grounded and a lot more spiritual, actually, than um, the fun part came out like way late after. So I was, we went to see, it was actually the first time that I was introduced to a channeler. And it was this woman in Glastonbury, which is quite famous for, in England, you know, being like a little town of a lot of when you go in there, when you go in the city, you've got lots of like shops with like little fairies, and they sell a lot of stuff with like little fairies and elementals, and they're very like, they have lots of therapies there, and so they're very, very aware of that kind of things. And so it was a friend of his, and she when she was telling, she was turning into a man, but it was the experience was completely, it kind of scared me, actually, because she was going through all that trance state and things like that, and I was like, what the what?
Yeah.
And then so we started chatting and things like that, and then right at the end, she said about something along the line like, you know that you're not, no, you're like, how did she say that? Something like, you're not, you're from the stars, or you know that you come from somewhere, something like that, along the line. When she told me that, because it was something that I've never acknowledged myself, you know, and I've since I thought about it, and I felt like I wasn't necessarily from here, but I never, you know, you don't want to like feel like you're losing your mind and things like that. So it's, you're not even allowing yourself to think that. But so she told me that, and I started crying my eyes out. Like I was like completely, it was something I was like made it so real suddenly, you know. And I was like, fuck, like I'm not crazy. Sorry, I need to speak
No, no,
slow.
that's okay. Don't worry. I curse too.
um, it just made really real. And she was the, in, like she said, she related me to the Pleiades, and at the time it was really something that I felt really close to, not because the Pleiades are something, it's always like followed me. Like for example, I would, wherever I was going, I would always know where, even if that I wouldn't see them, like I would always know where they are, like in the sky. And then I was always say like, oh, it's the Pleiades, they are the Pleiades, and then we would check on the map, and then on the star map, and it would be exactly there. And it felt always like home. I found out after later that it's not, it wasn't actually where I'm from, but I went through there. But anyways, um, so, and she told me that, and she told me I had this sister, that was looking after me, and that left it to that. But that was already sort of mega thing that I was. Um, it made me. It just made me pop. You know, it just popped the whole scare and the whole scary thing, the whole I'm unsure, you know, I don't wanna like lose my mind and things like that. Because she made it real. And again, I didn't know that person like at all. Um so that was that. And then I sort of like I didn't really went too much into it after that. But it was in my mind a lot, a lot, a lot, a lot, a lot. And then I'd say like probably a few months after that, I came across I don't know if it was an interview or just a podcast maybe of Barbara Marciniak,
Mm-hmm.
who's a channeler, a Pleiadian channeler, and honestly, I couldn't tell you what she was saying. I can't remember now like what she was saying, but there was this whole part where she was explaining the way Pleiadians live. I think it was something like that. But I I just remember I was in my room and I just remember listening to that. And again, this whole thing like came through of like, I know this, you know, it's like, it was like she was speaking my mind, you know, it was just like, I was like, I know this, like, and I started again, like completely like crying. Like it felt like I was, um, getting something out of me, you know, it's like this cry was just like really, I was releasing something, you know, and so that sort of like, um, started with me to like get a bit more curious. I was like, okay, there's now too many things that are just physical. Because again, like I, I have a very close relationship with my body because I started dancing when I was very young, and something that I've done my whole life. So I have, yeah, when I say a relationship, it is what it is because my body speaks to my mind and my mind speaks to my body. Like when something happens in my body, like I sort of, but anyway, um, so so that sort of like started this whole thing in my body. It's like um, curiosity or just like being like, okay, I feel that that feeling is just very deep and very strong, and I want to know more. And this is when I started. Um, and for many years there was nothing, you know. I've started just looking into this whole like UAP and like UFO at the time, and you know, and it's not until um I'd say maybe the first time that I saw UFO was I was in London, and it was maybe in um 20, no, a bit before maybe, but anyway. So and so that's what was a first experience of like seeing a UFO, and I was like, oh my god, like what's happening, da, da, da. And then sort of like everything, you know, happened at once, and then I started I can't even remember how I went through Elena, and Elena has been obviously like a big part as well of um um how can I say, like
Reconnecting you? I don't
yeah,
know.
reconnecting or reopening something,
Okay.
you know, of like of going even deeper. And then again, when Elena was speaking, I was like, I know this, like I know this in myself, like I, you know, and
And the fact that she was speaking also about Pleiadian people and stuff was kind of helping connect for you as well, I imagine.
and then so after I oh yeah, because there was the time with Elisa, and they were talking about a lot about the um QHHT, and then so I've done a QHHT session, and this is when I started to find out a lot of things. Um, so I'm just trying to find a chronology, like to be a bit more, so I don't know, like go back and forth too much. But I think, yeah. So Argon, I connected with Argon through a meditation because at first I was interested in channeling. I wasn't even like looking to, and I didn't really know much about channeling. And we talked about that before, actually. I remember I was doing that book and things. But anyway, so I connected with Argon through a meditation. I didn't know at the time, like, uh, who he was, and what he was, and our sort of connection. I found out later within an hour as well. Um, and so Argon is um, Argon is my guide, but he's also a part of um, um, the best way to explain it is like, because I don't like the term twin flame. He's like a part of my soul. It's like we don't share the same soul, but we share something very similar because we have almost like made an agreement together. And so basically, I am, because I still am somewhere, a traveler, and we live in we don't have a planet, because our planet, we had 3 planets um, around a star, around the sun, and it got destroyed from natural from a natural cause, like many millenniums ago. And we started traveling, and as a species, and we never stopped traveling. And so we now sort of like live in a ship that is very big, and it's not only one species, we're many different species, and that sort of like um, just travel galaxies and even multi-dimensionally. And basically, when there were many waves of starseeds throughout the 60s and the 70s and the 80s and the 90s, etc. And so I was born in the 80s, and when there was this wave coming, there was a call for souls in the universe that would want to come and help. And so Argon and I answered that call. And this is when we sort of like not really made a deal, but it came as a package, meaning there was one that's going to stay up there, and then there's one that's going to come down here. So I must have taken the short straw. I don't know. I don't know how that happened, but
or
anyway,
the most courageous, depending on how you see it.
And so for me to be able to come down as a human being, I had to de-densify through another life before coming here as Quentin, and between me before. I don't know my name, and I know that the name Argon is just a way for me to give a name to him in this plane, but I don't think that's his real name, if that makes sense. So basically, Oh, hang on, where was I?
You said that you
So,
de-densified by going through like a middle kind of life. I don't know.
so that's when basically I had to go through first this sort of step, for me to be able to go on. And that's when I encountered the Pleiades. Because it was an in between things. Um, so, and so, it sounds like I'm confused, but I'm just trying to like put my thoughts together, and there are things that I don't want to say either. So,
Yep.
um, I during this time as a Pleiadian, I was on a military training, and I have in the past suffered a bit from PTSD, um, which is a lot better now, but it there was things that I couldn't understand, like where it was coming from, and I had to go through that. And this is where I made the link of my military training in the police. But it wasn't only a training. I was in a military faction, I'm gonna say. But obviously that comes with hard situations and hard choices that you have to make. So that's that. And then I came here. So my relationship with Argon is very he has really been guiding me a lot, and um, I have it's like a support that is beyond words and beyond. It's to me, I was able to really put an experience into unconditional love and what it meant. Um, and something that I can just, I'm very, very lucky that I just can ask for, and sometimes and just receive it without even doing anything or having nobody around. And so yeah.
Is uh is is Argon you're in communication with Argon when you're actually doing your therapy? Is he part of helping you in guiding what you choose to do in the therapy, or he doesn't play a role in that sphere of your life?
He plays a role in so before I start any session with a client, I'm always connecting to him
Mhm.
as a way to protect myself, and as a way to really, it's like he helps me to clear my mind and be disconnected from, because when I work, I have to be in a state of complete neutrality, so I'm getting out of myself, and I can really get the information from the person that I'm with. So, and it's funny because there was one day I was doing a session with Shanda, and
Mm.
Shanda had a thing at her place. I can't I lost the word. Like, what's it called?
Wind
Is
chime?
that the what?
A wind chime? Like ding ding
No,
ding?
no.
No?
It's like
Okay.
this machine that um
A rife machine.
yeah, the right machine.
Yeah,
That's
okay,
it.
sorry. I thought you were okay.
Yeah. And so she had the rife machine on, and I was like, I didn't know, like I couldn't connect to her. I was like, it was because it was obviously a remote session. So,
Mhm.
um, and I was like, oh, I can't connect to her. And I started really freaking out. And I connected to Argon straight away. And I was like, what the hell is going on? Like, why can't I connect? Like, and he's like, oh, he says, oh, it comes from her side. And so I texted, um, I texted Shonda. No, I called Shonda and I was like, look, I can't, like, what do you have at your place? I can't connect to you. There is like there is something that is protecting, that is, I can't go through.
Building. Mm-hmm.
And Argon tells me that it comes from your side. And
Wow.
and she's like, she's like, oh, I've got the right machine on. And I'm like, so I asked her, I was like, is that it? And he goes like, yes. And then so she switches it back, she switches it off, and straight away I can connect. And then I was like,
Incredible.
yeah, that was really like, I was like, thank God you're there, because I would have panicked. I was
Yeah.
like,
But it also, I mean, gives credit to, I mean, the Spooky 2 and whatever, or the Rife machines in general for what they do.
oh my
And
God,
it really
this
seems to work. I mean, that's an amazing kind of
like
testimonial
definitely,
of it.
I just couldn't. And obviously, like when I do a session, there's always a sense of, consent, and I never
Mhm.
do anything
Of
without
course.
anybody's consent, and I can't anyway, and it's not ethical. I wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
So, but there was this thing. I was like, I couldn't connect to her. It was like it was blank, completely nothing, you know. So,
Incredible.
so yeah, there's like definitely like good point for them, because I was
Yeah. Actually, we're going to have
like,
Shanda on the channel in a few days from now. She's going to come and talk about it as well. So it's
oh,
going to be nice to have her also share her experiences. But can I
awesome.
ask you a question about? But again, I really don't want to pry. So
Go
if
for it.
it's
I'd rather that you ask questions and then that, because it's a
it's
lot,
a
and
lot of info. No, I know it's especially when you get into the multidimensional aspect of our shows. I mean, we're like everywhere and we're in different timelines, and it's just like. But I'll ask, and if you're not comfortable saying, it's okay. But just this way, I can kind of understand. So you were like the people on the ship, which you're kind of your soul matrix or the place where you originally come from in terms of soul. There are high frequency people, so it was too difficult for you to come directly here, which happens for a lot of starseeds of high frequency. So you went through probably like a fifth density, I imagine, Pleiadian body. So my point is, when you leave this body right now, are you going back to your Pleiadian to finish your Pleiadian life and then going back? No, okay, it's a two different. Okay, all right. Just
yeah.
asking because
So,
I know there's a lot of Pleiadians out there who are wondering like, am I going back to a pod, and then after that, am I going back to another life? Like it's complicated. So to have other people's impressions, or it's always nice to have a feedback.
yeah. So from what I understood, and it's because it's for the human body, it's too hard to take. It's just a question of mathematics. It's just mathematically difficult to anchor straight away. Whereas when I leave, it's like it's like I um you know can I explain? It's like um
Say it in French.
no, not silly. It's um I'm just trying to find the right words or the right image. Um, it's like a plant, like you have to it's like to bring it here, you have to protect it first so it can sort of, and then, but once, if you want to bring it back, then it's just, you don't have to do the same because it's already imprinted. If you know what I mean, like it's,
Yeah, it's just going to bloom back into its natural size or
yeah,
state.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. It
Okay.
doesn't, that's from, like what I understand. It's just, yeah, I might be wrong. I don't know.
I don't know, but I mean that's your knowing, and that's your experience. It's good. Yeah. And so now,
um,
when we have exchanged in the past, and you have said that with Argon, sometimes there's moments when you have less connections and moments when you have more. Do you know what is kind of responsible for that? I mean, do you feel there's a connection between your period of grounding and more or less connections, or is there a kind of corroboration between these two elements?
yeah. I mean, so when I started connecting, when I connected first to Avon, it was like on a daily basis. I was connected to him like 1, 2 hours a day. I was in a really deep state of meditation. I traveled with him. And when I say travel, I don't mean like I never had experiences like Elena. He took me on journeys. So it was like astral travel. And he showed me places, and he showed me the the sheep, and he showed me many things. But so at first it was very intense, and then for my own sake, I'd say, he stopped. That was very hard, because I felt like I had lost something. And it's a few months after that I reconnected with him, and I was very angry, and because I felt abandoned, and I was like, I didn't understand like why, but um, I didn't understand like why until I understood why. Um, and when I understood why, that's when I reconnected with him. But when we reconnected, I was saying like, it doesn't have to be this violent, we can communicate, but apparently there was something that I had to go through to understand um, that, you know, as much as we connected on a level that as a human being, I probably never grasp. Um, I have a life to live here, and yes, he is my twin, um, but I was starting to lose myself a bit, in that, and wanted to go back to him, and wanted to abandon everything. I started to get in a thing where like nothing made sense for me here, because I was reconnecting so strongly with my roots and who I was, and everything made sense. And I realized, like, so, and I was longing for that, and I was like, I miss it. Like, I want to go back. I miss it. I miss it. And that wasn't helping at all, because I was completely forgetting why I was here. And so it was a bit harsh, but it was very helpful, because I so during these few months where I couldn't connect to him, it just reminded me like don't want to say I'm on my own, but I'm on my own,
Mm.
is um so yeah.
Which
And
is
then so
a
after,
beautiful, sorry,
sorry, no, go ahead.
which was an opportunity for you to experience your sovereignty again and just find your strength and all your tools within yourself, I imagine, which were
Yeah,
helpful.
yeah,
Sorry, I
yeah.
didn't want to cut you.
That was the big lesson of like, okay, well, yes, we found each other again, like, or we connected, like, because it was the time, but chill, you know. um, and and then after that, that really helped me to find more balance,
Mhm.
So um, so now there are weeks. I don't know if I wouldn't say month, but there are weeks where we don't have a direct connection, where I don't, even if, yeah. So it's really, I'm independent, and mm, God knows what he's got to do, and so now it's a lot more balanced, and it's very helpful. But I don't forget, and this is the part of the whole grounding thing, is that and this is what he told me as well, a lot, is that I chose to come here, you know that was the deal. So now that I'm here, and it took me years, like a big chunk of my whole life to integrate my soul into my body. I've I went through a lot of different ways, because I couldn't get myself. It was like a rejection almost. Like And when I say that, I really mean it in the literal way. I had difficulties. So even with my 5D experience, I still had difficulties to bring my soul into that body because it felt so difficult.
So dense. Yeah.
Very, yeah, just um, very narrowed. It felt very close, and it took me a big, massive work for me to do that. Um, so when I did that, there was like, oh, okay, like now it felt like, and it, funny enough, it was almost at the same time that that happened, and then a few months later, I connected with Argon.
Hmm.
Um, so
It's
um,
interesting how it could be like a, we could think the contrary, that by, being up there, you're going to meet with your, but it's by grounding that you're actually able to connect with him better, which is paradoxical, but in a way it's not, because it comes back to what you've been saying since the beginning, is that this grounding is absolutely essential in order to make sense of this whole experience, not only of this one here, but also the one upstairs, in a way. So, and I think
yeah,
you've done this beautifully. I mean, I really honor your journey. First of all, I want to say I thank you so much for, like, offering us a part of your private life upstairs or whatever. That's, I know you're very what's the word, you're generous in what you say, but I mean, you're also a private person, and so I really honor that you shared that experience with us. I thank you so very much for doing so. I'm sure it's going to help a lot of people who are also challenged by high frequencies, trying to kind of settle here and ground. And so not only the first part, but the second part of this interview, I think, is going to help a lot of people, try to integrate their body, their experiences, and stop feeling like they're victims of incarnation on Terra, but something that they chose. And so I think
yeah,
you bring
it's
a lot.
something, and I I really like what you said, and I think it's a very, very, very important thing. Is there are many things that happen once we really get deep in this, in it's very important, very, 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 very important, because this is what is gonna um bring this, down here. It's us. But first we have to be there. We have to be here. We can't be like halfway there and halfway. I don't think it's gonna work like that. I don't think it's gonna help. I don't think it. I mean, it didn't help. Certainly didn't help me to like be too much up there.
Yeah.
And that for I resisted a lot. It was at first I didn't want to in like I felt almost like I felt almost proud to not um integrate my body, because I was like, I'm different. I come
Mm,
from somewhere else. Blah blah blah
yeah.
blah. Ego, BS,
Hmm.
and and it's really until I was like you're just another, you know, you're part of you're a piece of the puzzle, but there are 80 other billion pieces of the puzzle, and um, so that part of like really integrating that and being like, hang on a minute, I'm here, I'm here.
Yeah.
So take it and run with it. And then I believe that as, you know, um, a starseed, like it's super, super, super important.
Yeah.
Super important. You never forget your roots. You will never forget where you come
You
from, and
can't, even
you
if you wanted to, you would not be able to forget.
exactly. You can't. You can't. And
Yeah.
we will all go back eventually. Like, death in this, but in this
Mm.
plane, in this earth, in this human life, it's inevitable. We're all gonna die as a human being. So, um, like, and it's an experience. It is, to me, that's what really like a outside of my sort of mission. I hate that word, but
Yeah, I
my
know.
part in this, um, for why I'm here. It's an experience. It literally like the human life is a playground. Like that's what it is. And I know that we touched on that on the interview. Like there's this part, and there's also our own journey as an infinite being that is going through things that we need to heal, that we need to to do like outside of the bigger picture and the galactic aspect of ourselves. It goes beyond even that. So yeah, just like grounding, grounding, grounding.
Grounding and accepting and not being resistive of this life, and just see it instead of seeing, okay, I'm gonna do it, then okay, then I'm gonna, instead like see it like, wow, it's gonna be like a super fun game, it's gonna be
Yeah,
like amazing, like a child that goes into a playground, like you say, and just like experience life and eat this and try that and make love and be happy or be sad and just travel. And I mean, life can be amazing, and here we are just like thinking about home and thinking about home. I mean, and I'm saying this, and I'm 2/3 of the time I'm missing home, so I'm just saying this, but I really need to walk my talk. But I know, like intellectually, I know what you mean, and it's really it's for all of us to do it,
yeah.
to accept
And I
it and
believe that
ground it.
they, if you feel like there's too much of your of in my own experience, when I have moments like that where I feel like I'm missing home too much, it usually means that there's something that it needs to be integrated in here.
Mhm.
So it's like to me it's like a little
Red
um
flag.
yeah, a little red flag that goes like, okay, so like why am I missing home so much? What is it in like right now that bothers me so much that I want to leave? Start there,
Yeah.
and then because you learn and then you make it. I was gonna say more bearable, but
But yeah,
it's
I
not
know
that.
what you mean. Yeah, you kind of
It's,
transmute the challenge. You're able
yeah,
to
yeah.
ground
And
it.
I'm not gonna lie, it's not easy. It's not easy when you know that there are other ways. When you know deep inside your freaking every cell in your body knows that they could be, this life could be different, this whole humanity could be different, this planet could be different, this whole star system could be different, and so you just it's not easy, but
It's
it is
doable. You're
it
the
is
living experiences. You're the living experience that it's doable. So I know you missed home, and as seeing you nowadays so grounded and going back into your grounding, I find is very inspiring. I mean, not only for people out there, but for me as a friend, like just seeing you grounding like that, I think is very inspirational, and I'm really happy to see you. I know it's challenging some days, but I think it's a beautiful experience you shared with us today. I'm gonna bring this interview to a close because we could talk for hours and hours, you and I. I mean, it's always a pleasure, but I really want to thank you for bringing these two really important aspects: the upstairs, the downstairs, and how to alchemize this into something that's kind of a whole and that's harmonious. So thank you for doing that. And I want to remind the viewers that there's two or three, I don't remember, interviews we did in the past a few months ago. So if you want to check that out, it's really fun. We always have these really interesting conversations, and Quentin is always have a lot of wisdom to share with us and a lot of experiences that are really, really interesting. So you can go and look at that. If you want to know more about Quentin's practice, Holos Healing, I'm going to put the link under the video here if you want to have a look at that. And I mean, you're still practicing right now. Huh? You're still, your practice is yeah. Okay, so people can contact you if they want to have a little bit of a nudge. And Quentin, I'm going to thank you again so much
thank you,
for
Well,
everything. Take
it's
great care of yourself. And we'll stay in contact. And if you have something else you want to share with us, you're always welcome in the channel anytime. Take care. Bye. Hello, beautiful soul. You have been on a spiritual journey for some time, or perhaps you're just starting your inner journey. And you probably have questions that remain unanswered right now, although all your answers lie within yourself, as always. But sometimes we need someone to just give us a little nudge. And personally, as an intuitive and a transmitter and a creator, I have created my own type of approach where I offer the people the opportunity to ask a few questions, a maximum of 5 questions, where I will provide from my inner guidance, which is the fractal of source that I am and that you are as well as my high vibration guidance will provide a vocal transmission. And also we will be creating an artwork just for you, unique and original, based on your questions, and the motifs and the colors that will be chosen for the artwork will have in some ways some information about the answers to your question. And I will also use a piece of music that, either through the frequency of its melody, of its words, will also give you some clues as to what the answers to your questions might be. And I only serve as a nudge, as a pointer, in order for you to, after that, resonate or not with this information, and then you can pursue your own spiritual and inner journey, just having been just helped a little bit on the path. So if you're interested in a creative intuitive transmission session, which I call CIT, I invite you to follow the link that's below in the description of this video, and on my website, abigailrichard.com/CIT. And don't hesitate to ask for more information or just book a session. Have a lovely day. Bye.